Well, good morning, YouTubes. So, as many of you know, I have family down in Alabama, and they are safe, and I appreciate your thoughts, or appreciate my family being in your thoughts. But, within that vein, why do I think that thoughts are good? Well, you know, I happen to be a human, and I'm a social being. And it can bring comfort to humans to know that other humans are thinking about them. But in that same vein, a lot of humans will say, I'll pray for you. And then when I posted on my Facebook the other day that my family was okay, but a law of Alabama had been struck, and I asked for people to donate blood, time, resources to the Red Cross and other disaster relief organizations, somebody said they would pray for me. As noted in the video I will link below, well, if prayer actually had power, like maybe asking a deity to smite somebody, then the people who pray would be held criminally liable. I mean, they were the ones who were asking for that intervention from this almighty power. But it just got me thinking. A lot of atheists, a lot of agnostics say, well, two hands working is worth more than a million clasped in prayer. And that's true. I will link below a news article about a study they did a couple of years ago about prayer and people getting better from cardiac disease, I believe. It's an interesting article. But on my Facebook post, I specifically put donate blood, energy, resources to the Red Cross. Specifically so, it would encourage people to do so. Because it's not like going like this is going to fill up that pint of blood bag. It takes rolling up your sleeve and sitting in a chair for a little while. Yeah, it takes a little bit of pain, but it's well worth it, because you're going to save one, if not several, lives from it. Basically, I'd rather have people say, you're in my thoughts. Because saying that somebody is in your thoughts, it's just kind of a comfort to know that somebody's thinking about you. Versus, I will pray for you, means I'm going to sit here and talk to myself, and if something happens that's good, I'm going to praise my invisible friend, rather than actually praising the people who were out there working. When people are in the hospital and they are very sick and then they get better, they don't praise the doctors or say, that was one clever nurse who gave me that IV just when I needed it. Or, that diet, or that cook in that kitchen prepared such a wonderful meal that I just had to eat more, and it made me stronger. They praise their deity. It's like, no, my invisible friend put his hands on me and fondled me a little bit, and that made me better. No, don't give credit to the people who actually did something, like the people who came up with that medicine that saved your life, or that doctor who recognized all the symptoms and the conditions and then took the appropriate actions, or the nurses who took the appropriate steps, or that nurse's assistant who kept very close track of your vital signs. And it makes me angry, because there is no deity. Generally, I try to be a little bit calmer about this, because I do embrace the support of gay positive churches, and I do see them as a positive force in the world, because if anything, they're helping people not feel like freaks and giving them a place that they can call home, where they can find acceptance and love. Whereas in other churches and in other areas, they're getting nothing but hate. But Come on. Another friend posed to me, well, who saved your family members down in Alabama? And I stepped back, and I thought for a moment, and you know, that's not really a hard question. What saved my family members? Their quick thinking and the designers of their house. The house that my family down in Alabama lived in was very sturdy. It had a nice safe space for them to go to during storms. Hell, I was down in Alabama during Katrina. I sat in that safe space where my family took shelter. And given during Katrina, we lost power for maybe 10 minutes, but the house was okay just because of where my family lives in Alabama. But that safe space, where it was, had several thick walls around it, and it had several strong, sturdy levels on top of it. Give it like a basement. Their sheltered space was a basement, so of course they had the ground floor above them, and then they had the level that would be the floor of their attic, and then they actually had their roof, and then they had a couple of walls, and they had the dirt around them to protect them and make sure that any flying debris didn't hurt them. It wasn't a deity. It wasn't an invisible friend. It was their quick thinking to grab their emergency kits and go into that shelter, and it was the designer of the house that kept them safe. Statistically, tornadoes happen. Alabama is in an active weather zone. So is Ohio. My hometown got hit by some pretty bad tornadoes a couple of years ago, and there was only one death. Half of my graduating class could have died in a tornado if it hadn't have been for the quick thinking of the people around them and the design of the building they were in. So, where does this leave us? I appreciate the thoughts, but if you're going to pray for me, why don't you also go sacrifice a mouse on an altar? Peace out, YouTubes.